bizarre that you guys choose to do more propaganda TV shows and movies as opposed to just abandon the whole idea. They said something about ideas. I was watching some of the first Star Trek Change New Worlds. No, it really wasn't even holding my attention. I was just looking at the thought process of the propaganda and going, But then the only thing that it didn't fascinate me, it was just apparently string theory was literally like all the rage when they landed me in Sierra Vista. But after the boat ride bedroom, string theory kind of went to shit. There was a decision made that changed the course of history of how the scientific community was going to correct Abrahamic religion and save the world. And it went in a different direction because of directions I took and choices I made. There was apparently alternate options and opportunities. And I took the moral ground as opposed to the animalistic ground, because morals are what separate human beings from animals, and which should be discussed by Vulcans, but it's not. It's interesting the directions that they go in as far as when they go to the past, and with the way the technology is represented and the way the order of the hierarchy is. So I'm pretty sure that Spock was first officer of Pike, and that there's okay, and they were mostly dudes on the okay. There's a few women, but okay, but it's okay. But I would have gone back to the original thing and saw who was there and what, before Pike was, terminated with and then sent to the place to live in fantasy world in his radiation poison body, right? When you're excessive and compulsive, and you see things through excessive and compulsive behaviors through poorly constructed and egotistically projected science projects, you're going to end up getting what you deserve because you invent the conditions. As far as creative, no, you can't be creative. You're inventing, and then through your invention, you're inventing your own narratives and you're inventing your own stories. Now, as far as contact goes with alien life forms and stuff, I don't know if any of the stuff about the doors and the skulls and stuff on Mars are real, but it would be people like you and not people like me. And you have choices and you have decisions. If you become self-destructive, and that's a bad choice, because if you look at all your propaganda, it's not feasible to keep going that way. Eventually you will destroy things. What they do is not logical. It does not make sense. The perception of emotion and the perception of logic is greatly askew because of the ego. I don't find any of it fascinating. Fascinating is like when you're watching birds and understanding birds, and watching kids and understanding kids, and it's cute, and they're doing it, and cowgirl boots, it's cute, and fit, watching the little girls run with the arms straight and the little boys run with the little fist, and stuff, and the way they run and the way they move and their patterns of behavior. Now that's fascinating. When you sit and you go, okay, girls have different ways they do things than boys, out of just the way the brains are wired and out of their biology and stuff. And so that's always fascinating to watch. And you sit and you don't, a lot of times you wonder why, but most of the time it's pretty obvious. And then you can sit there and help them correct problems that lead to animalistic behaviors and self-destructive behaviors, by limiting the beauty and the glory of the soul to the finite passions of the mind, like Krishnamurti used to talk about, and Suzuki, and Selassie, Also, okay, Slasse's expression was different because of his cultural dynamics and our linguistics things. The errors, the ego does what the ego wants, and the ego needs to get away from wants to focus on needs to not destroy each other through wants. And so once you get that pretty much squared away, we'll be all right. I was telling Dad this morning, and it really sobered him up. But it's like, whoa, as far as I'll go once this bullshit mass killer murder holiday is over with all the let's celebrate blowing each other up over money, with flagpole rags and war songs. When I was a kid, it was one of my favorite holidays. It was around my birthday, and all the the running with fists, being a boy. Right. But as I get older, I like watching the little girls that run with. They're so cute, and knowing that we can't run with fists or run with the straight arms without faithful love and intelligence and humility and wisdom and reason. And so kiddos, toddles, I love toddles. They're so toddly, they're so cute. And so my I guess you could refer to it as job, being the gracious good shepherd, is to make sure that the world is a good and safe place for toddles, and not an aggressive, violent, egomaniac killing room for, I saw my death, and it was because we were doing excessive compulsive activities with radiation instead of forgive, debt, and trespass, love, one, eternal, faithful peace, and then have relative forms of faithful communication that replace our perceptions of competitive ideas that out, and then, Captain Pike, he said there, it was 2022. I have said that before, but I guess you guys weren't paying attention. Most people don't. Nobody's going to die on this and all that. It's like, you can't say that. You're a bunch of extremists doing excessive and compulsive things. Anybody could die at any time. You're in space. You're moving at Mach speed, warp speed, bop-a-doop-a-dop-a-doo, running into other wackadoodles that are extremists, and the world is like an apple spinning silently in space. And then when you knew it was over, you were suddenly aware that the autumn's leaves were turning to the color of her hair. Right? Where's the jingle in your pocket? Or it's a jangle? No, keys the jingle in your pocket. Where's the jangle in your head? Why did summer pass so quickly? Was it something that you said? Lovers walk across the sand, leave their footprints in the sand. It's the sound of distant drumming, just the fingers of your hand. And those windows, and the windmills of your mind. That's attachment to something that you thought was real in an environment that does not sustain reality real well. A bunch of egotistical, manipulative propaganda artists shitting all over your life and then telling you, find a way to make nourishment out of your shit and make lots of money off of it, Right? Fucking sucks, right? So, but I told Dad this morning, I said, I got this morning when I woke up and was recovering from my nightly dose of, hey, assimilate to our brain activity, we're better than everybody else. That's not true, and you know that. Everybody's, in a sense, getting what they deserve. When you give the world a living Messiah who redeems the Gospels and correlates them scientifically and relates them empathetically and respectfully and intelligently with the entire world, and you choose to use science projects to egotistically compete with each other and continue genocide operations through philanthropy and technology, as opposed to stand up for the living Messiah that's supposed to unify us all according to all your documentation and all your faithful forms of communication, you refuse to respect or honor. After this pagan war celebration thing, you call it, 4th of July thing, I'll go to the doctor's things, get a toxology report, get the things for disability, and then we'll go that way. We'll see where we go. I can't fix the people that the military put in position for this next phase of space, the final frontier. Big giant windmills for, you think by then, they'd get rid of, industrialized But no, you're going in the, okay, big ships go to Mars, destroy the planet, building big ships to go explore. And okay, don't care about Bill Snipe, right? Yeah. We're like Bill Snipe, we destroy everything in our path. Yeah. And even the rock guy can't help you rebuild Jotunheim that only exists in the, and the world is like an apple spinning silently in space, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind. Your imagination, I knew that though, with what you guys were doing with head fucking with technology, that most of the stuff that was in your head that you thought was real was just you head fucking yourself with your own ego and your own imagination. I asked you to stop because I was like, guys, this is bad. You know, well, you're all video game developers and you're all video developers for propaganda to manipulate people to your desired outcomes and objectives. And, you know, and now this next Fantastic Four one is just, let's just go straight back to wackadoodle cartoon to keep just entertain them instead of try to propagandically train them, but then try to put a message in the bullshit propaganda that we know is definitely not real. And, you know, back in the, you know, when, man, the 70s and 60s were good at your house, man. Maui Wowie mushroom pizza, man. Like a picture, she was laying there, moonlight dancing off her hair. She woke up and took me by the hand. She's gonna love me in my Chevy van, and that's all right with me. Shame you won't be passing this way again. We may never pass this way again. Shannon is gone. I hope she's drifting out to sea. She always loved to sail away. Maybe she'll find an island with a shaded tree, just like the one in our backyard. Hang in there, you know. Oh, my own children, you know. My youngest that I raised is 18, and none of them will even acknowledge me privately as the Messiah and the Redeemer of the Gospels and the living embodiment of the Lord's Prayer when it's blatantly obvious that I am. So, you know, we are what we do and we get what we deserve. And, you know, brain damage accepted and understood through scientific projects, but you should be able to grab a scientist by the nuts or by their rotten give me money for sex VJ and squeeze the shit, kick it or squeeze the shit out of it and say, I'm not taking this shit anymore. I'm standing up for the Lord's Prayer with the living Messiah instead of wanting cartoon characters to say they'll keep us all safe and will protect us and no one's going to die on this mission of nuclear radiation insanity, which we've done a lot for Star Trek. And don't you think that's a little bit fucking played out? No, they got ideas. Okay, guys, I love you. I'm always here to help you because I love you. Life's eternal and grace is infinite. If you want to make any contact with alien life forms that you're not scared shitless of down on Main Street in Las Cruces, New Mexico, you're gonna have to honor me instead of trying to kill me and make it look like an accident. I don't know. Okay, guys, I love you. All right, peace out, man.